Hi, welcome to Parliament Chocolate. We're here in beautiful downtown Redlands at one of the first bean-to-bar chocolate factories in Southern California. Inside, we're going to explain a little bit of the process of what bean-to-bar chocolate is and why it's so important to understand the chocolate making process. So come on inside, and thank you very much. We are here at Parliament Chocolate, and like I said, this is probably one of the smallest chocolate factories in the world. We're at a small little building, 860 square foot chocolate factory. Willy Wonka-ish mentality. I know that sounds weird, but like I said, we actually make that chocolate from the bean to the actual chocolate bars. So come on in and I'll show you a little bit of the process. This here is cacao beans, and we actually start with this product and turn it into an actual chocolate bar. What's so important about our company is we actually fly down to Central and South America and meet with farmers and do what's called direct trade and have a direct trade relationship. What that means is I actually want to create a relationship and know exactly where my product is coming from, which is these cacao beans. In that retrospect, you're actually respecting the farmer and respecting the product that you're working with. So it's extremely important to know every aspect of what's going on, from actually making the chocolate and actually sourcing the chocolate and the cacao beans. So like I said, I fly down usually to Central or South America or Southeast Asia once to twice a quarter and meet with these different farmers from different backgrounds, different lives, and try to work with them on a direct relationship and create a relationship, which is not done enough in the food industry and should be done more often. Through the process of actually making chocolate, when we bring up these cacao beans, we usually bring them up in huge sacks, anywhere from 60 to 70 kilos in each sack, which is about 120 pounds, so quite a bit. We try to bring up anywhere from 1 metric ton to 3 to 5 metric tons, and we work with other chocolate makers, so just helps sourcing and actually connectivity between all of us working together. So starting in that process, we actually take these beans and we roast them. So just like you would roast coffee, we have these things called big drum roasters, and we throw these beans in those drums, which is a direct heat method. So we actually roast 2 different ways because it creates different profiles. So we're actually designing this chocolate with unique profiles and unique characteristics based around the terroir, or what's going on at the farm. So we want to actually capture the flavors of these beans and what is going on at those farms. So we want to bring those back up, and we don't roast them to a degree to where we want to burn off those flavors. And in that process, the lower heat, we're actually controlling the flavors as much as possible, and antioxidant content and health benefits of it. So if we over roast it, then you lose all those benefits and you have these carcinogens and carbon. And so we try to capture those flavors as much as possible. So our next process, after we do that cracking and winnowing and separate that shell from the nib, we take those cacao nibs and we do what's called liquoring. It sounds like there's an alcoholic assumption that alcohol is actually applied, where it has nothing to do with alcohol. Liquoring is actually where you take the nib and you turn it from a solid state to a liquid state. What that means is, if you've ever seen peanuts and turn them into peanut butter, it goes from a solid to a liquid peanut butter state. So fundamentally, that's literally what we're doing. We're taking those cacao nibs and we're turning them pretty much into that peanut buttery form, that liquidy form. So after that process, then we move on to another process. So quite a bit of processes when it comes to actually chocolate making and turning your actual cacao bean into a finished chocolate bar. So it takes a lot of steps. So after that liquoring process, like I said, where we actually take the those nibs and turn them to a liquid state, we throw them into these huge machines right here. So these are called our melangers or refiners. What these do is they actually take that peanut buttery, so if you actually ate that sort of structure of that liquor, then you'll have this really gritty consistency. And truthfully, chocolate in that gritty state, it's not very good. It's not. It's very astringent. There's there's also different types of acids in it that need to get burnt out. So that's where this refining process happens. So we actually take that liquor and throw it into these big machines. These can hold anywhere from 100 pounds to 65 pounds. So what's actually in here is a big granite base and then big granite wheels. And so what these granite wheels are doing over a period of actually 2 to 5 days, depending on ambient temperature outside, it literally sits in this machine and doesn't stop moving for 2 to 5 days. So it's literally, if you come on over here, you can actually see it's actually breaking down the structure. So this is where we actually add our sugar as well. So this is where, if you've ever heard of the percentage of a chocolate bar, so 70% chocolate bar, 40% chocolate bar, that percentage of chocolate bar is that percentage of how much chocolate's in your chocolate bar. So we only make 70% chocolate bars to 30% sugar. So 70% cacao or chocolate to 30% sugar. We don't add any other binders like soy lecithin or cocoa butter or other flavoring agents. Like I said, we're trying to capture that flavor of the chocolate and from the source. So when you actually add it to these machines with these big granite wheels, it's breaking down that structure quite a bit. And over a period of time, each one of these granite wheels weighs anywhere from 20 pounds to 30 pounds, depending on what type of machine you have. And so it's breaking down that structure and breaking down and also producing, so as it turns, producing friction. So that friction burns off those volatile acids that are bitter, astringent, and not very good in flavor. So we want to burn off those acids, and over that period of time, it breaks it down. So as soon as that's done, we do what's called blocking, and we'll actually pour the chocolate out into molds and do what's called blocking in about 8 to 9 pound blocks. So I will show you that next. All right, so next process, like I said, we do blocking. And what that means is we actually take the chocolate and put it into huge molds, like I said, 8 to 9 pound blocks. So this is a big block of chocolate here. It's called an untemperature couverture block. You can see how it's not crystallized and not connected perfectly. So this is some pretty good stuff right here. So what we have to do in the process after that is called tempering the chocolate. So we actually take this big block and we throw it into what's called a tempering machine. So I'll explain that process next. Come on over here. So the process after we actually do the blocking, we actually take those chunks of chocolate and we throw it into the machine. What this machine does is it actually takes all that chocolate and re-melts it down. And what we're trying to do is melt it down and connect what are called beta crystals. What are beta crystals? So beta crystals are crystals that are in the chocolate that are actually very unstable. Fat crystals and sugar crystals that we actually have to bind together. So we're actually looking for what's called beta 5. So there's beta 1 through 6, and beta 5 is that perfect temper. So if you've ever heard of that word tempered chocolate or tempering chocolate, we're trying to sort of connect it like a puzzle. So that in that first image, when you saw the block chocolate, you saw how unstable it was and how it can actually, you touch it by hand, it melts extremely easily. And then if it was in a bar form at that point, it would just snap apart and sort of become brittle in your hand. So we're actually wanting to design it so that it's got a nice snap to it, so that when you bite onto it, it's got this nice mouthfeel, and then it also has a nice sheen and shiny look. So it doesn't look like it sort of is actually moldy at that point, which it's not mold. It's just, like I said, that sort of instability of its crystals not being connected correctly. So what this machine does is it's actually melting it down to about I would say about anywhere from 110 to 120 Fahrenheit. So when we melt it down to about 120 Fahrenheit, we're actually bringing it back down to a very cool temperature rapidly. So what that's doing is it's isolating those crystals, those beta crystals, and connecting them together. And so we actually have these molds right here. So these are our actual chocolate molds, and there's actually a nozzle. So unfortunately the machine's not on right now, but there's a nozzle. So it runs through the whole machine, all the chocolate runs through the machine and then comes out of this nozzle right here. So as it's pouring out, we actually take it and disperse it onto the molds. After we disperse it onto the molds, we'll scrape it off back inside, and then we'll turn on this machine. What this machine does is it actually vibrates. So what we're doing right here is we're actually vibrating out all the bubbles that are inside. So you have this nice, crisp, very nice sheen bar. So you don't have those air bubbles inside the bar. So after we actually get those air bubbles out, we take this guy, which is our freezer, and we throw it in here to just make sure that the ambient temp is going to not distraught and destroy what we tried to do in that crystallization process. So after it's set, you have that solid chocolate bar, then we actually hand wrap all of our chocolate bars. So here is our final product. We are actually wrap anywhere from, I would say, 100 to 150 individual chocolate bars a day. And then we send them throughout all of the world. So United States, Canada, England, Japan, and then people can enjoy our single origin, what we call single origin chocolate, direct sourced directly from the farmer. And people can enjoy it. Thank you for watching the video.
The presentation tonight will be a semblance of a Cliff Note presentation, meaning that we have so much information we can only tell you so much. So we'll try and hit the highlights for you. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. Think about it. Lifestyle. Norman Cousins was an individual who had a disease called ankylosing spondylitis. He was ill because of the autoimmune disease issue. And Norman said, if stress made me sick, then maybe happiness or laughter could help me get well. And as the story goes, Norman wrote a book called Anatomy of an Illness from a patient's perspective. And he revolutionized medicine because he was the person responsible for opening the door for mind-body medicine. Babies, 3 to 4 months of age, can they talk? But they can laugh. Think about it. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness.
Everyone loves a good laugh. And research is finding that a good giggle does more than just bring a smile to your face. Remarkable things are happening inside your body as well.
We now have the evidence that we literally not only decrease the detrimental stress hormones, but we increase a good neuropeptides called endorphins.
In short, that's a good thing, reducing stress and improving heart health. Dr. Lee Berk examines the body's response to laughter. His findings should be taken to heart. Frequent laughter has been found to improve circulation, lower blood pressure, even help prevent cardiovascular disease. And while a good chuckle will never come in a bottle, Berk believes a prescription of daily silliness is just what the doctor ordered.
3 to 4 or 5 times a day is not unreasonable. It certainly is less taxing than exercise. What's happening in the brain when we laugh? I went to the literature, there was nothing there. So we decided to do a study. I don't expect you to read this. It's one of the handouts that were up front. This is a paper we presented in 2014 here in San Diego at the Federation meetings, showing for the first time that the brain frequencies could be modulated or changed as a result of laughter. So laughter improves memory and it reduces stress hormones, particularly cortisol. Anybody heard of cortisol, steroid? What does cortisol do to memory? Cortisol is a hormone that is neurotoxic to the hippocampus, to the area in the brain that's associated with memory. That's why we don't need stress. The evidence is there that humor actually enhances memory and recall. If you can't physically exercise, do you see what laughter can do cardiovascular-wise? So we wanted to look at brain waves. What is going on in the head? Just a brief review. We have several kinds of brain waves. Here's delta. When you're sleeping, you do a good job with delta. Here's theta. Here's alpha, when you're resting, relaxing. Beta, that's what we're doing right now. And then there's the wonderful gamma. Gamma frequency is wonderful. We see gamma frequency when we laugh, and we see gamma frequency when we eat the right kind of dark chocolate. For real. Delta and theta are unconscious frequencies. The conscious frequencies are alpha, beta, and gamma. Gamma is the new kid on the block. Gamma frequency is the frequency that gives us the best recall and memory because of the synchronization, the communication. From laughter, positive affect, and dark chocolate. So we did a study. This is the EEG headpiece that we used. We'd use a 9 lead on the cerebral cortex area of the brain. And we had subjects watch a stressful movie and a laughter, humorous movie.
We've all heard the phrase, laughter is the best medicine, but today there are researchers working to prove it.
Is it gonna hurt?
No, it doesn't hurt at all. You're just receiving signal from your brain, but you're not feeling anything.
Dr. Lee Berk studies the mind-body connection. He looks at how the brain, hormones, and immune system communicate with each other, and he's viewing it all through the lens of laughter.
I'm serious about laughter in the sense that I want to show the validity of why it is beneficial for your health, for staying well, and maybe even helping you in recovery of disease. We know there's certain physiological responses, biological responses that take place as a result of laughter, such as lowering the blood pressure, lowering the heart rate, increasing the immune system's capability. You can lower your blood glucose levels, and this is of value to diabetics.
We all know that stress is bad for us.
70 to 85% of all visits to primary care physicians are a result of stress-related disease.
But Dr. Berk says that laughing is scientifically proven to make a big difference.
We lower the detrimental stress hormone cortisol. We lower the epinephrine or adrenaline, which causes the vasoconstriction or high blood pressure. We increase the capacity of the immune system to be more functional and active. So we're helping ourselves to break that cycle of the stressors to one of, hey, get back to a homeostasis and help yourself stay well. This is the comparison of stress and humor for gamma frequency. The greater the intensity of the frequency, the red, that means the gamma frequency is lighting up in the whole brain. Look at stress. Which one do you want? It's not even a question. So what's so special, again, about gamma frequency? Why should we seek after gamma frequency? Because of the binding of neurons, as I suggested and said earlier. Memory and recall is enhanced. Sensory awareness is enhanced. That's why food tastes better when you're laughing. It's real. It's associated with compassion? You mean the emotions are involved in this? You bet. Much research is needed to be done with empathy, altruism. It's the highest level for cognitive processing. In other words, being functionally cognitive. What does that say? Associated with antidepressive state. You got to be kidding. Same thing with dark chocolate. We now know with humor that there's a specific area as a result of the mirror neuron that lights up with functional magnetic resonance imaging, and that's an area called the nucleus accumbens. The nucleus accumbens is an area where we produce dopamine, pleasure, reward. This is work done at Stanford University. Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food. Once again, you've heard of this fellow? Every time you eat or drink, you're either feeding disease or fighting it. Antioxidants. Take a look. Antioxidants. Low, high concentration. Here's chocolate. Pretty high. Ryan will tell you a little bit in a few minutes the value of healthy chocolate. Not all chocolate is the same. Very significant study done, published in the Nature Neuroscience, where they literally showed that an area of the hippocampus that's used for memory is actually enhanced as a result of eating chocolate. Again, the consumption was 900 milligrams every day for 3 months. 900 milligrams is less than one little piece of the bar that you break off. Here is your brain on chocolate. the heat maps for gamma frequency. This is thinking about chocolate. This is thinking about eating chocolate. This is looking at chocolate. This is smelling chocolate. This is putting a piece in your mouth, but not swallowing. This is eating chocolate. Gamma frequency. How much proof do you want? And now you'll hear the rest of the story.
I am presented. My name is Ryan Berk, and I own Parliament Chocolate and an ice cream company called All Minute Ice Cream. What is Parliament Chocolate? We are called a bean-to-bar chocolate factory. What that means is we're actually taking that bean and going through the full chocolate making process and turning it into a chocolate bar or couverture chocolate, which is the big block chocolate, which is nice to chew on from time to time too. What that means is I actually have to fly down to Central and South America, Southeast Asia, and meet with farmers on a regular basis. So once a quarter, I usually go somewhere around the world and actually source my own cacao. What that means is I'm practicing what's called direct trade. What is direct trade? That is fundamentally, literally meeting with the farmers on a direct relationship. What that means is I can meet with the farmers like I do with my ice cream shop in my hometown with the farmers that produce our oranges, but actually down in South America, Southeast Asia, and all over these tropical environments. And that means I can create a relationship with these farmers. And this is a little bit of the growing process. So starting from sort of the growth of the plant over to these are actual cacao pods. I'll pull this up. So these are actual cacao pods of what's called ancient criollo. So this is the type of chocolate that we look for the most. So there's different varieties of chocolate, and what I'm looking for to make the best chocolate, the best flavorful chocolate, comes from ancient wild criollo. And what that means is it's more of an ancient varietal that is less astringent and less bitter. Because the less bitter it is, which bitterness is good sometimes in a little bit of it, but when it overpowers it and overpowers the flavors, the unique flavors in the cacao, then you really don't want it. So this variety right here is one of the best varieties. From the pod, because it is a tropical environment, harvest season usually varies all over the world. So it's nice because I can jump on a plane in December and you've got harvest season in December in one part of the world, where in another part of the world, July, you've got harvest season in a different time. How is chocolate made? All right, so now after the beans are dried, then they're put into huge sacks and then they're brought up to me. And this is a little video of sort of how the chocolate's actually made. Hello, my name is Ryan Berk. I'm executive chef and owner of Parliament Chocolate. In this video, we'll be showing a little bit about the process of us going through that bean to the actual chocolate bar. So enjoy the video. We have a direct relationships with the farmers. I work with farmers in Belize, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, and in this direct relationship, I can sort of spectate and monitor fermentation, growing process. So in turn, it creates a higher quality product for us and a much better quality chocolate bar for us.
With a sleight of hand, a twist of fate, I lay here crying, thinking about all my mistakes.
we mold the chocolate as well. Parliament actually means a group of owls. So we designed the name Parliament Owl, so every single origin, whether it's Guatemala, Dominican Republic, we have a different type of owl designed for us from a local artist, and that artist designs the owl specific to that origin or the unique things that that person wears in that country. So we have these sort of unique characteristics to each chocolate bar. So labeling is very expensive for me as a small batch chocolate maker, and is very expensive for the producers that produce our chocolate that are only producing on I would say an acre to an acre and a half of land. Don't get me wrong, I think labeling is extremely important for large corporate companies in creating personability for what's going on down at the farms, but for me, I wanted to do something different than labeling. Instead of filling the back of my bar up with all these labels, what I ended up doing was I asked the farmer themselves to talk about what they saw in life and what they could see and move forward with in life. So here what it says is cacao is a valuable tradition that comes from our Mayan ancestors and has been passed down from generation to generation. Quechua families from the ecoregion of Lachua in Guatemala dedicate themselves to the cultivation of cacao to produce the highest quality product to better the economy of our families and helping at the same time to preserve the environment for our future generations. Hector A. Ruiz Chubb.
The sugar that is used in the bar he uses organic cane sugar. We actually had the sugar analyzed by Medallion Labs. It contains antioxidants because it is organic, and it contains other nutrients. Your white table sugar does not. So the sugar in their typical candy bar does not have those benefits. So you are getting additional nutrients and antioxidants with organic cane sugar. Okay.
And we'll be up here if you want to ask any more questions. So.